From the very moment Prince Harry stepped into the world spotlight as the charismatic younger son of the late Princess Diana and Prince Charles, the world has been fascinated by his life. Every action, every word, every glance has been meticulously recorded, dissected, and interpreted by millions across the globe. He grew up under the unrelenting gaze of the public eye, navigating the intense scrutiny that comes with being born into one of the most famous families in history. And yet, for all the privileges and responsibilities that came with his royal lineage, Harry's personal life remained a delicate balancing act, a private world constantly threatened by public intrusion. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. Enter Meghan Markle. At first glance, she seemed to be a woman from an entirely different universe than the one Harry knew. A successful actress, independent, intelligent, and poised, she had built her own career in the competitive, spotlight-driven world of Hollywood. Their paths might have seemed unlikely to cross in a way that would change the course of history, yet destiny, chance, or perhaps a collision of ambition and desire brought them together. The world watched in awe as their romance unfolded, a modern fairy tale of love that promised to bridge the worlds of royalty and celebrity, tradition and modernity. But behind the glossy magazine covers, carefully staged photographs, and meticulously curated public appearances, there were whispers of a different narrative. And those whispers have now found a voice in Trevor Engelson, Meghan's ex-husband. According to Trevor, Meghan's ambitions were not merely a reflection of personal growth or professional achievement. They extended far beyond Hollywood, into the realm of global influence and prestige. He claims that long before Harry entered her life, Meghan had considered, planned, and even discussed with friends the possibility of marrying into royalty or high-profile circles, a dream not just whispered about in passing, but treated as a tangible goal. Imagine the complexity of that revelation for Prince Harry. For someone whose life has been a constant negotiation between personal freedom and royal duty, the idea that the person he loved may have been strategically plotting a path into his world is staggering. It is a revelation that strikes at the very heart of trust, love, and the narrative they had both presented to the public. Harry's fury, as described by sources, was intense. It wasn't just about the existence of the ambition itself, but about the implications it held for the authenticity of their relationship. How could he reconcile the woman he fell in love with, the woman he trusted implicitly, with someone who, according to these claims, might have been approaching him as a calculated step toward a larger goal? To fully understand the magnitude of this situation, one must consider the context in which it unfolded. Harry had long sought a partner who could understand the pressures of life under public scrutiny, someone who could navigate the unique challenges of being a royal while remaining a grounding presence in his life. Meghan appeared to be that partner. Their love story was celebrated worldwide as an inspiring narrative of modern romance, of a royal finding true love beyond the rigid confines of palace life. And yet, the revelation by Trevor Engelson reframes this story entirely. It introduces an element of premeditation, of ambition that may have coexisted alongside genuine emotion. Trevor's account is both detailed and illuminating. He recalls conversations and moments in Meghan's life where she expressed fascination with royalty, not as a distant curiosity, but as a possible future. These discussions were not fleeting fantasies. They were sustained, deliberate, and expressed with a sense of excitement and possibility. Friends close to Meghan reportedly remember her speaking about the allure of high-profile circles and the influence that came with them, discussing the potential for a life intertwined with status, privilege, and recognition. For Trevor, and now for the public, these recollections paint a picture of a woman whose ambitions may have been far more calculated than the world had previously imagined. The implications of these revelations are enormous. If Meghan's aspirations included marrying into royalty, it casts a new light on the early days of her relationship with Harry. Were her actions guided purely by love, or were they intertwined with a vision she had long nurtured? It is a question that cannot be answered definitively without insight into her internal motivations. Yet the very possibility is enough to provoke intense curiosity, debate, and scrutiny. For Harry, this revelation is deeply personal. It challenges the foundation of trust that their relationship relied upon and forces him to confront uncomfortable questions about intention, loyalty, and love. The confrontation that followed, according to sources, was charged with raw emotion. Harry reportedly demanded clarity, seeking to understand the extent to which Meghan's ambitions may have influenced their relationship. The intensity of this moment is almost cinematic, a private clash between love and suspicion, between hope and betrayal, unfolding behind closed doors, yet with echoes that would reverberate through public consciousness. One can almost imagine the tension in the room, the unspoken questions, the weight of history pressing down on the individuals involved. It is a human drama played out on a stage of extraordinary visibility, where private emotions intersect with public expectation. This story also highlights the delicate balance between ambition and authenticity. Many people harbor dreams of achieving prominence, influence, or recognition. Yet when these aspirations intersect with personal relationships, they can become points of tension and conflict. Meghan's alleged long-term ambitions introduce a profound dilemma. How does one pursue personal goals while maintaining the trust and emotional integrity necessary for a loving partnership? For Harry, the revelation posed a dilemma of its own. How to reconcile the person he fell in love with and the ambitions she may have held long before their union. The public's fascination with this story is understandable. There is a natural human curiosity about the interplay between personal ambition and romantic relationships, especially when the individuals involved are as high-profile as Harry and Meghan. Trevor Engelson's statements are particularly compelling because they offer an insider perspective, a glimpse into the formative experiences and aspirations that predate public knowledge. They invite viewers to reconsider the narrative that has been presented, to explore the complexities and contradictions that define human motives, and to engage with the emotional realities that accompany revelations of this magnitude. As we prepare to explore this story in depth, it becomes clear that this is not simply a tale of ambition, confrontation, or scandal. It is a narrative about trust, love, and the nuanced ways in which personal history shapes relationships. We will examine Meghan's early life and ambitions, the conversations and interactions she reportedly had with friends, and the timeline leading up to her meeting with Harry. We will also explore Harry's perspective, the confrontation that ensued, and the broader implications for their relationship and public image. Along the way, we will provide context, expert analysis, and emotional insight to help viewers understand the depth and complexity of this unfolding drama. By the end of this introduction, it should be clear that the story of Harry, Meghan, and Trevor Engelson is not just about ambition or revelation. It is about human experience, vulnerability, and the consequences of discovery. It is a story that invites reflection on the nature of trust, the role of ambition in personal relationships, and the ways in which private motivations intersect with public perception. For viewers, it sets the stage for an in-depth exploration of events that are as emotionally charged as they are compelling, offering insights into a world where love, power, and strategy collide in ways that are both extraordinary and deeply human. Long before the world knew Meghan Markle as the Duchess of Sussex, there was a young woman with aspirations, goals, and a vision for her life that extended far beyond the ordinary. Growing up in Los Angeles, Meghan was the daughter of a lighting director father and a television producer mother, surrounded by a city that thrives on ambition, opportunity, and visibility. From an early age, she was exposed to the workings of Hollywood, the interplay of fame and influence, and the potential doors that could open with determination and a keen sense of self-presentation. Friends and acquaintances from Meghan's formative years describe her as intelligent, driven, and fiercely independent. She excelled in school, pursued higher education, and displayed a maturity and awareness that often surpassed her peers. Yet, alongside these qualities was a developing consciousness of social hierarchies, status, and the power of being connected to individuals who could elevate her personal and professional trajectory. While many teenagers dream in abstract terms, Meghan, according to Trevor Engelson and others, often framed her dreams in very concrete, strategic ways. She was not content with passive aspiration. She envisioned outcomes and mapped pathways toward them. In her early 20s, Meghan was navigating the entertainment industry, auditioning for roles, attending events, and networking in environments where perception often matters as much as talent. It was during this period that she reportedly began to openly discuss her fascination with high-profile individuals and elite social circles. Friends recount conversations in which Meghan expressed admiration for figures who held influence, not merely fame, and she would muse about what it would be like to engage with such individuals on a personal level. According to these accounts, she was intrigued not just by the visibility of being connected to prominent figures, but also by the doors it could open, opportunities for impact, access, and recognition. Her relationship with Trevor Engelson, a film producer with his own connections in Hollywood, provided a practical lens through which Meghan's ambitions could be contextualized. Sources close to the couple have described their early interactions as filled with intellectual exchange, shared interests, and mutual admiration. Yet, Trevor has asserted that Meghan's conversations often included broader reflections about status, ambition, and the allure of marrying someone in a position of exceptional visibility. These weren't idle musings. They were framed with the seriousness of someone considering her long-term trajectory, weighing options, and envisioning how to align her personal life with her aspirations. It is important to recognize that ambition itself is not inherently negative. Many people harbor aspirations for prominence, influence, or recognition. What sets Meghan's early ambitions apart, according to Engelson, is the specificity with which she reportedly envisioned connecting with high-profile or royal circles. Friends allegedly recall her speaking with enthusiasm about the prestige and opportunities associated with influential unions, and she approached these ideas not with abstract fantasy, but with a sense of possibility that bordered on strategic planning. This framework of ambition can be understood in the context of Meghan's career trajectory. She pursued acting roles that offered visibility, took on projects with social impact, and cultivated a public image that blended talent, intelligence, and poise. Each decision, whether conscious or subconscious, contributed to a profile that was increasingly aligned with the qualities admired in high-profile social circles. Whether through appearances at charity events, engagement with media projects, or her early advocacy work, Meghan was positioning herself as someone who could navigate both visibility and influence with ease. Engelson's accounts also suggest that Meghan's awareness of public perception was heightened even in the earliest stages of their relationship. He recalls instances where she would discuss how appearances matter, how relationships can shape one's opportunities, and how being connected to certain people can alter the trajectory of a life. These reflections, when viewed in retrospect, create a portrait of a young woman who was acutely conscious of the interplay between personal ambition and social connection. A woman who considered not just what she wanted in the immediate sense, but what she could strategically cultivate over time. It is within this context that her fascination with royalty, high society, and influential individuals becomes significant. Meghan reportedly expressed curiosity about the lives of public figures, the privileges and responsibilities they carried, and the ways in which strategic relationships could enhance personal influence. These conversations, Engelson claims, were not fleeting or superficial. They were sustained discussions, reflective of a mindset attuned to ambition and opportunity. For someone observing from the outside, it may have seemed like normal curiosity about success and prestige, but for those closest to her, there was a discernible pattern. A vision of a life intertwined with status and visibility that was being actively considered and, perhaps, deliberately pursued. It is also critical to examine how Meghan's personal qualities intertwined with these ambitions. She was intelligent, articulate, and socially adept. She knew how to engage people, how to present herself in ways that conveyed confidence and competence, and how to navigate complex social environments with ease. These attributes made her both compelling and memorable, and they were qualities that, when combined with her ambitions, created the potential for strategic relationships that could align with her long-term vision. Some might interpret this as manipulative, others as pragmatic, but the underlying truth is that Meghan, like many individuals driven by a combination of aspiration and opportunity, was conscious of her potential and actively considered how to maximize it. What distinguishes her situation is the public and historical context. Her ambitions eventually intersected with one of the most scrutinized institutions in the world, the British monarchy. This intersection magnified the stakes, transforming private aspirations into global intrigue. Understanding Meghan's early ambitions also requires looking at her social and professional networks. She cultivated friendships and connections with individuals in entertainment, media, and advocacy. These relationships, according to Engelson, were not solely for companionship. They were environments in which she could observe, learn, and navigate the dynamics of influence. She engaged with these networks in ways that enhanced her visibility and honed her social intelligence, preparing her to operate effectively in circles where perception, presentation, and influence are paramount. In examining Trevor Engelson's revelations, it is also important to acknowledge the complexity of human motivation. Ambition and desire are not mutually exclusive with love, affection, or authenticity. A person can genuinely care for someone while also being attuned to how relationships intersect with broader goals. However, from Harry's perspective, learning that Meghan may have harbored these specific aspirations before their meeting adds a layer of complexity that is emotionally charged. It challenges the narrative of spontaneous romance and introduces the possibility of premeditated alignment with status and influence. As this chapter unfolds, viewers should consider the tension between personal ambition and emotional authenticity. Meghan's early life, her career trajectory, and her social engagement reveal a woman who was both calculating and charismatic, whose aspirations were intertwined with her identity, and whose personal relationships were likely influenced by an awareness of opportunity and consequence. This sets the stage for the pivotal moments that would follow. The meeting with Prince Harry, the initial romance, and the eventual confrontation when long-held ambitions come to light through Trevor Engelson's revelations. By examining Meghan Markle's early ambitions in depth, we begin to see the foundation upon which later events are built. It is a narrative that underscores the complexity of human motivation, the interplay between opportunity and desire, and the profound impact that personal history can have on relationships. For viewers, it provides context, nuance, and insight into the factors that may have shaped Meghan's actions and choices long before she became a household name, a duchess, or a subject of global fascination. The moment when two lives intersect can seem ordinary in the context of daily life, but in the case of Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, their first meeting would become the catalyst for a global narrative that continues to captivate millions. For Meghan, it was a meeting that aligned with an already ambitious trajectory. For Harry, it was the beginning of an intense, high-profile chapter that would test his values, his family loyalty, and his emotional resilience. Understanding the circumstances and context of this initial encounter is essential to grasping the dynamics that would unfold later, especially in light of Trevor Engelson's claims regarding Meghan's pre-existing ambitions. It is widely reported that Meghan and Harry were first introduced in 2016 through a mutual friend, an encounter arranged with casual intentions but extraordinary consequences. In private, Meghan is said to have exuded her trademark combination of poise, intelligence, and charm, qualities that immediately captured attention. Harry, accustomed to the glare of public scrutiny and well-versed in navigating social environments saturated with formality and expectation, was nonetheless intrigued by her authenticity, conversational ease, and clear presence. Unlike many of the individuals in his orbit, Meghan did not appear intimidated or awed by his status, and yet she maintained a balance of respect and confidence that drew him in. From Harry's perspective, this initial encounter was compelling but complicated. He was acutely aware of the historical weight and media attention that accompanied any personal connection he forged. Meeting Meghan was not simply a social engagement. It was a moment that carried implications, both personally and publicly. What is less understood, and what Trevor Engelson would later reveal in his disclosures, is that Meghan approached such encounters with an underlying awareness of potential outcomes. Her early ambitions, long discussed with friends and observed by Engelson, suggest that her engagement with Harry was informed not only by personal attraction, but also by a recognition of what a relationship with a royal could signify. While many narratives focus on the romantic elements of their meeting, the spark, the chemistry, the shared laughter, the strategic undertones cannot be ignored in retrospect. Meghan's understanding of public perception, her ability to navigate media attention, and her cultivated social skills all converged at the moment of meeting Harry. This combination of authenticity and awareness created a compelling presence, one that Harry found magnetic and, according to sources, difficult to resist. Their initial interactions were characterized by genuine curiosity and connection, yet beneath the surface lay the complex interplay of status, opportunity, and personal ambition. Following the introduction, Meghan and Harry began a series of dates, gradually building a relationship that would quickly capture the attention of the public and media alike. Their time together, although initially private, was marked by intense curiosity and observation. Both parties were learning about each other's values, personalities, and expectations. For Harry, it was a period of discovery, as he navigated the intersection of personal feelings and the realities of life within a royal framework. Meghan, in contrast, was engaging with a world that had long been a subject of fascination, aligning with her interests in high-profile connections and influential circles. Trevor Engelson's revelations cast a retrospective light on these early moments. He asserts that Meghan had long harbored ambitions to marry into prominence, and that her conversations with friends and acquaintances reflected a conscious awareness of how relationships could intersect with personal and professional advancement. In this context, the meeting with Harry is not just a romantic story. It is also a critical juncture in a trajectory shaped by foresight, strategic thinking, and the alignment of opportunity with aspiration. Engelson's perspective suggests that while Meghan's charm and intelligence were genuine, her engagement with Harry may also have been informed by a pre-existing vision of life within a high-profile framework. This early phase of their relationship was not without challenges. The scrutiny of the media, the pressure of public expectation, and the complexities of royal protocol created an environment that demanded adaptability, resilience, and careful navigation. Meghan, drawing on her experiences in Hollywood and her understanding of visibility and perception, managed these pressures with a combination of grace and assertiveness. Her ability to maintain composure, articulate herself, and present a polished public persona was informed by years of experience observing how influential figures operate, a skill set that would become increasingly critical as their relationship progressed. Harry, meanwhile, was negotiating his own internal landscape. Accustomed to a life of structure, duty, and expectation, he was simultaneously drawn to Meghan's independence, warmth, and intelligence. The connection they formed was marked by moments of levity, shared interests, and mutual understanding. Yet, underlying these interactions was a tension between the spontaneous elements of personal connection and the broader context of social positioning and public scrutiny. It is within this tension that the narrative of their relationship begins to take shape, with the interplay of personal desire, ambition, and social consequence becoming increasingly salient. One of the most significant aspects of this period is the gradual evolution of trust and transparency. While Meghan presented herself with authenticity, the revelation of her prior ambitions, long before Harry entered the picture, would later introduce a layer of complexity to their dynamic. Engelson's claims suggest that Meghan's discussions about high-profile relationships were part of a broader pattern of aspirational thinking, not necessarily unique to her interactions with Harry, but highly relevant in retrospect. This context provides a deeper understanding of the psychological and emotional landscape in which Harry and Meghan's early relationship developed, highlighting the interplay between personal attraction and strategic consideration. As their relationship progressed, Meghan and Harry began to navigate more public engagements, formal events, and social appearances. These moments tested their ability to manage media attention, public expectation, and the delicate balance of personal connection amidst intense scrutiny. Meghan's prior experiences, social intelligence, and awareness of visibility provided her with tools to handle these challenges with relative ease. Her understanding of public perception, cultivated over years in professional and social spheres, allowed her to navigate the high-pressure environment with confidence, while also subtly shaping the narrative surrounding her and Harry in the public eye. For Harry, these early months were transformative. The experience of building a relationship with Meghan revealed both the possibilities of personal connection and the challenges of aligning intimacy with public life. Engelson's revelations, shared later, introduced a retrospective lens that reframed these experiences, emphasizing the significance of Meghan's pre-existing ambitions and her capacity for strategic engagement. The tension between genuine affection and calculated consideration became an undercurrent, influencing perceptions, decisions, and ultimately, the trajectory of their relationship. This chapter of their story underscores the duality of human relationships, especially in the context of high-profile connections. It illustrates how personal attraction, shared values, and mutual curiosity coexist with strategic awareness, ambition, and the conscious navigation of social hierarchies. The first meeting between Meghan and Harry was more than a simple introduction. It was the beginning of a complex narrative in which emotions, opportunity, and long-term ambition converged. By examining their initial encounter in detail, viewers gain insight into the foundations of the dynamic that would later lead to public fascination, intense scrutiny, and, ultimately, confrontation. Understanding the interplay between Meghan's early ambitions, her strategic awareness, and the authenticity of the connection she formed with Harry provides context for the events that would follow. It also frames the emotional and psychological landscape in which Harry would later confront Meghan regarding revelations about her past, highlighting the intricate layers of motivation, expectation, and consequence that define their story. As we move forward in this narrative, it becomes clear that the first meeting between Meghan Markle and Prince Harry was not merely a romantic encounter. It was a pivotal moment in a broader trajectory shaped by ambition, strategy, and the unique pressures of life within and adjacent to the British royal family. This foundation sets the stage for the subsequent developments that would transform private ambition into public controversy, intimacy into tension, and personal decisions into global headlines. The early stages of any romance are often defined by the thrill of discovery, the excitement of shared experiences, and the subtle dance of revealing one's true self while simultaneously managing first impressions. For Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, this period was magnified by global attention, historical significance, and the inevitable media scrutiny that accompanies anyone who intersects with the British royal family. What may have been an intimate and private experience for ordinary couples was, for them, amplified to an extraordinary degree, turning each interaction into a moment of historical and social consequence. Understanding the dynamics of their early romance is essential to appreciating both the personal connection they shared and the complexities that would later emerge, especially when viewed in light of Trevor Engelson's revelations about Meghan's long-term ambitions. From the outset, Meghan's approach to the relationship demonstrated both authenticity and an acute awareness of the unique context in which it was unfolding. Those closest to her described her as confident, poised, and adept at navigating high-pressure environments. She engaged with Harry in ways that were personal, thoughtful, and intellectually stimulating, but she also demonstrated a nuanced understanding of how perception and presentation shape opportunity. This duality, genuine warmth combined with strategic awareness, became a defining feature of their early romance, creating a compelling dynamic that drew Harry in while simultaneously laying the groundwork for the future narrative of their relationship. The public, initially unaware of the depth of their connection, began to speculate as glimpses of their interactions leaked into the media. Reports described walks in the English countryside, shared interests in humanitarian causes, and private conversations that hinted at mutual admiration and respect. These early moments, though relatively ordinary by romantic standards, became extraordinary when filtered through the lens of public fascination. Every detail, from a casual smile caught by a paparazzi camera to the way Meghan greeted Harry at social events, was analyzed, interpreted, and disseminated globally, transforming personal connection into collective curiosity. Harry, who had grown up within the structures and expectations of royalty, found in Meghan a partner who challenged conventional norms without undermining the traditions he had been raised to uphold. She was independent, articulate, and socially conscious, engaging him in discussions ranging from charitable initiatives to global issues, all while demonstrating a clear sense of self. Their compatibility, though evident in shared values and interests, was further reinforced by a chemistry that appeared effortless and uncontrived. Yet, beneath the surface of attraction lay the realities of ambition, perception, and opportunity, elements that would later become focal points in public discourse. Engelson's revelations cast a retrospective light on this period, suggesting that Meghan's engagement with Harry was informed not solely by personal affection, but also by a conscious understanding of the potential trajectory of their relationship. According to Engelson, Meghan had discussed with friends long before meeting Harry her aspirations of being involved with someone high-profile, someone whose social position could intersect with her personal and professional ambitions. While these discussions did not diminish the authenticity of the connection she formed with Harry, they provide important context for interpreting her approach to courtship, public appearances, and strategic decision-making during the early stages of their romance. As the relationship developed, both Harry and Meghan navigated the delicate balance between privacy and visibility. They were acutely aware that their interactions would be scrutinized, interpreted, and broadcast to millions around the world. Meghan's experience in the entertainment industry had taught her the importance of managing perception, understanding audience dynamics, and maintaining control over one's narrative. Harry, though well-versed in public life, encountered a new layer of intensity when faced with the unique combination of royal expectation and personal curiosity that Meghan's presence introduced. Together, they negotiated the pressures of this environment, blending moments of intimacy with calculated public engagement. The narrative of their early romance is also marked by a series of shared experiences that reinforced emotional connection and mutual understanding. They attended charitable events together, explored mutual interests in mental health and social advocacy, and engaged in private conversations that revealed vulnerabilities and personal histories. These moments, while deeply personal, were situated within a framework that demanded awareness of external perception. The interplay between private affection and public visibility became a defining characteristic of their early interactions, shaping both the trajectory of the relationship and the narrative constructed by those observing from the outside. Observers noted that Meghan's social intelligence played a significant role in these early stages. Her ability to anticipate reactions, manage impressions, and navigate complex social environments allowed her to interact with Harry in ways that were both authentic and strategically advantageous. This skill set, cultivated over years in Hollywood and through her engagement with influential social circles, enabled her to establish a strong presence while simultaneously building a foundation for long-term relational goals. Engelson's insights suggest that Meghan's awareness of opportunity was not incidental, but rather a conscious and informed aspect of how she approached personal relationships, particularly those with high-profile individuals. Harry's perspective during this period was shaped by a combination of personal attraction, admiration for Meghan's qualities, and an evolving understanding of the challenges inherent in their relationship. The juxtaposition of her independence with the constraints of royal life created a dynamic that was both exciting and complex. Harry found himself drawn to Meghan's resilience, intelligence, and charisma, qualities that complemented his own desire for authenticity and meaningful connection. Their interactions were characterized by moments of shared humor, intellectual engagement, and emotional vulnerability, forming a bond that appeared both genuine and enduring. Media coverage began to intensify as their relationship became more visible. The public was captivated by the contrast between Meghan's American upbringing and Hollywood career and Harry's British royal heritage. This juxtaposition fueled speculation, debate, and fascination, amplifying the stakes of their romance. Every public appearance, casual gesture, and private outing was scrutinized, creating an environment in which personal connection existed alongside relentless observation. In this context, the ability to manage perception and navigate complex social dynamics was not merely advantageous but essential. The early romance was also marked by tensions arising from external pressures. Members of the royal family, palace staff, and media outlets each played a role in shaping the narrative, often creating challenges that tested the resilience of the relationship. Meghan's prior experiences in high-pressure environments equipped her with tools to handle scrutiny, criticism, and expectation. Harry, navigating the interplay between duty, family expectations, and personal desire, relied on his own judgment and emotional intuition to maintain balance. Together, they navigated a complex landscape, blending affection, strategy, and resilience in ways that would define the early trajectory of their relationship. Engelson's disclosures add depth to this narrative by highlighting the pre-existing ambitions that Meghan brought to the relationship. According to his accounts, she had long envisioned a life intertwined with prominence, influence, and public recognition. These ambitions were discussed openly with close friends, providing a window into her mindset and long-term aspirations. While these discussions did not negate the authenticity of her connection with Harry, they introduce a layer of complexity that helps explain certain choices, behaviors, and dynamics observed during the early stages of their romance. By examining these months in detail, viewers can appreciate both the emotional authenticity and strategic awareness that characterized the early development of Harry and Meghan's relationship. Their bond was shaped by attraction, shared values, and emotional resonance, yet it was simultaneously influenced by the realities of public life, historical significance, and long-term ambition. Understanding this interplay is crucial for contextualizing the events that would later emerge, including moments of confrontation, revelation, and the intense scrutiny that would follow. In summary, the early romance between Prince Harry and Meghan Markle was a period defined by discovery, emotional connection, and the careful negotiation of public and private spheres. Meghan's blend of authenticity and strategic awareness, Harry's desire for genuine companionship, and the pressures of global attention created a complex and compelling narrative. Engelson's insights into Meghan's prior ambitions provide a lens through which to interpret these early interactions, revealing the multifaceted nature of their relationship and setting the stage for the dramatic developments that would follow. These months were not merely a romantic prelude. They were the foundation of a story that would capture the world's attention, challenge perceptions, and ultimately lead to confrontations that would forever alter the public understanding of their lives together. The world had long been fascinated with Meghan Markle's life before she became a member of the British royal family, but it wasn't until Trevor Engelson, her former husband, stepped forward with revelations that many began to reconsider the narrative surrounding her past. Engelson, speaking candidly in interviews and through written accounts, provided an unprecedented glimpse into Meghan's mindset, ambitions, and long-term goals before her fateful meeting with Prince Harry. According to him, Meghan's interest in high-profile partners and social elevation was not incidental, fleeting, or a product of opportunity. Rather, it was a conscious, deliberate part of her worldview, nurtured over years and often discussed with close friends. Engelson's account begins with the early years of their marriage, when Meghan was carving out her career in the competitive world of Hollywood. She was already well aware of the power of social positioning, the influence of wealth and fame, and the doors that could open when one aligned oneself with prominent figures. According to Engelson, Meghan frequently spoke of her fascination with royalty and the allure of marrying someone of high social standing. These were not idle musings or casual remarks. They were expressed with clarity, specificity, and enthusiasm, revealing a long-term strategy that extended far beyond conventional dating aspirations. In his interviews, Engelson recounted conversations in which Meghan described her ideal life partner as someone not only attractive and successful, but also socially prominent, someone whose status could amplify her own ambitions. He emphasized that Meghan's conversations were not about superficial wealth or celebrity for its own sake, but about the intersection of opportunity, influence, and personal fulfillment. She spoke openly with him and their circle of friends about her curiosity for elite social spheres, including royalty, and expressed a desire to experience the unique privileges, responsibilities, and visibility that such a life could offer. These revelations, when framed within the context of Meghan's eventual marriage to Prince Harry, sparked global intrigue and, in many quarters, controversy. For some, Engelson's insights painted a picture of a woman who was opportunistic and deliberate in her pursuit of status. For others, they simply provided a humanizing glimpse into someone who, like many ambitious individuals, had goals and aspirations that guided her choices. Engelson himself was careful to convey that these ambitions did not inherently negate Meghan's authenticity, intelligence, or capacity for genuine affection. Rather, they highlighted a complexity that had been largely absent from public perception, revealing how strategic thinking and personal ambition coexisted with emotional depth and relational investment. To fully understand the significance of Engelson's account, it is important to consider the timing and context of Meghan's statements. These discussions occurred during a period when she was navigating the pressures of a burgeoning acting career, managing personal identity in the public eye, and contemplating her future both professionally and personally. In this environment, conversations of Engelson's role as a close observer, having shared a significant portion of her life, lends credibility to his recollections, particularly regarding the specificity and consistency of Meghan's expressed goals. Engelson described Meghan's ambitions as both aspirational and practical. She reportedly acknowledged the challenges inherent in pursuing high-profile relationships, including public scrutiny, societal expectations, and potential personal sacrifices. Yet, rather than being deterred, she approached these realities with pragmatism, identifying pathways to achieve her objectives while maintaining a sense of personal agency. This combination of aspiration and strategy, Engelson suggested, was a defining feature of Meghan's approach to life and relationships, one that would later intersect with her romance with Prince Harry in ways both profound and controversial. The former husband also addressed how Meghan's ambition manifested in her social interactions. Engelson recounted instances in which Meghan expressed admiration for public figures and royalty, noting their influence, visibility, and capacity to enact change. She discussed attending events, observing high-profile social dynamics, and imagining herself participating in similar circles. These reflections were not idle daydreams. They represented a deliberate awareness of the cultural and social capital associated with prominence. Engelson emphasized that Meghan's commentary was thoughtful, articulate, and consistently aligned with her broader personal goals, underscoring a level of intentionality that many observers had previously overlooked. In addition to sharing these insights, Engelson revealed how Meghan balanced ambition with authenticity in her personal relationships. He noted that she was capable of deep affection, loyalty, and commitment, demonstrating these qualities in their marriage despite eventual separation. Her discussions about high-profile aspirations were not framed in a way that suggested disregard for personal connection. Rather, they were integrated into a larger understanding of how life goals, personal growth, and relational dynamics could coexist. Engelson's perspective challenges simplistic narratives, inviting viewers to consider the interplay between ambition, love, and self-actualization in Meghan's life prior to meeting Harry. Engelson's revelations also shed light on the reactions of those around Meghan at the time. Friends and colleagues who heard her speak about royalty and high-profile partners reportedly responded with a mix of amusement, curiosity, and support. These discussions were not secretive. They were shared within trusted circles, reflecting an openness about her aspirations that contrasted with the secrecy often assumed in public narratives. This transparency, Engelson suggested, indicated confidence rather than manipulation, a recognition of personal goals and the courage to articulate them openly. The global response to Engelson's account has been varied and intense. Supporters argue that ambition is a natural human quality, and that expressing interest in high-profile partnerships does not diminish authenticity or emotional integrity. Critics, however, have seized upon these revelations as evidence of strategic calculation, using them to question Meghan's motives in her relationship with Harry. The discourse surrounding Engelson's statements reflects broader societal tensions regarding gender, ambition, and the expectations placed on women in both public and private spheres. Moreover, Engelson's account invites reflection on the broader context of Meghan's life and career. She grew up navigating multiple cultural identities, pursuing an acting career in a competitive industry, and cultivating a personal brand that emphasized independence, intelligence, and social awareness. Her ambitions, therefore, must be understood as part of a continuum of self-determination and intentionality, rather than as isolated or opportunistic behavior. Engelson's perspective provides a lens through which to view these ambitions as consistent with her broader trajectory, revealing patterns of thought and behavior that predated her introduction to Prince Harry. The intersection of these ambitions with Harry's life introduces additional layers of complexity. Harry, though accustomed to public scrutiny, was entering a relationship with someone whose experiences, worldview, and aspirations differed significantly from those typical within royal circles. The early romantic dynamic, when viewed through Engelson's lens, can be understood as a meeting of two worlds. Harry's life steeped in tradition, duty, and historical weight, and Meghan's life characterized by strategic awareness, personal ambition, and a desire for meaningful social impact. This convergence created both opportunity and tension, shaping the narrative arc that would follow in their public and private lives. Engelson also addressed the question of timing. Meghan's ambitions, he suggested, were not reactive to her relationship with Harry. They were pre-existing, long-held aspirations that merely found alignment with an unexpected opportunity. This distinction is critical, as it challenges assumptions that her relationship with Harry was purely opportunistic. Instead, it presents a more nuanced picture, one in which personal ambition and authentic connection can coexist, intersect, and influence decision-making in ways that are both intentional and human. Finally, Engelson reflected on the aftermath of their marriage and eventual separation. He acknowledged that relationships evolve, that ambitions and personal growth continue to shape decisions, and that his insights were offered not as judgment, but as context for understanding a complex individual. The transparency of his account, combined with the specificity of his recollections, provides viewers with a rare window into the pre-royal life of Meghan Markle, offering explanations for behaviors, choices, and dynamics that would later dominate headlines and public discussion. In summary, Trevor Engelson's revelations about Meghan Markle's ambitions before meeting Prince Harry offer a rich, detailed, and nuanced perspective on her mindset, goals, and personal strategy. They highlight the coexistence of authenticity and ambition, the interplay of personal aspiration with relational connection, and the ways in which prior intentions can inform future relationships. Engelson's insights serve as a critical chapter in understanding the trajectory of Meghan's life, the early development of her relationship with Harry, and the public discourse that would later surround them. By examining these revelations carefully, viewers gain an in-depth understanding of the layers of intention, strategy, and human complexity that define Meghan Markle's path from Hollywood to the global stage of royalty. When Prince Harry first learned of Trevor Engelson's revelations about Meghan Markle, the response was immediate, intense, and deeply personal. For Harry, the news was more than just an abstract insight into Meghan's past. It was a jarring revelation that challenged his understanding of the woman he had chosen to marry, the life he had envisioned, and the trust he had placed in someone he believed to be fully aligned with his values. His initial reaction was a mix of disbelief, confusion, and, ultimately, profound anger. Harry's upbringing had been shaped by the constant presence of the public eye, rigorous expectations of loyalty, and an acute awareness of personal and familial reputation. Within this context, any suggestion that a partner may have approached a relationship with calculated intentions carried weight beyond the ordinary. Learning that Meghan may have nurtured long-term ambitions to marry into royalty, and had openly discussed such aspirations with close friends before meeting him, struck at the heart of his sense of security, personal agency, and emotional vulnerability. It was not just a matter of pride or ego. It was a challenge to the authenticity of their connection, the integrity of their shared experiences, and the narrative he had constructed around love and commitment. The initial moments following this revelation were marked by intense internal conflict. Harry reportedly wrestled with disbelief, questioning whether Engelson's account could be accurate, whether it had been misinterpreted, or whether it reflected a broader truth that had eluded him until now. He reflected on their shared history, the private conversations, the intimate moments, and the milestones that had defined their early relationship. Each memory was re-examined through the lens of this new information, producing a profound sense of cognitive dissonance. How could someone he loved and trusted have harbored ambitions that seemed to predate their meeting, ambitions that suggested a level of premeditation in pursuing him specifically because of his status? This inner turmoil quickly transformed into anger, a complex, layered emotion encompassing betrayal, frustration, and disappointment. Harry felt blindsided, as though the foundation of trust and transparency that had underpinned their relationship had been undermined by a hidden layer of ambition that he had never been privy to. The anger was not merely reactive. It was also reflective, stemming from a sense of having been unwittingly inserted into a larger strategy he had not anticipated. He questioned whether the woman he had married truly loved him for who he was, or whether his status, title, and potential for public influence had been factors in her long-term planning. After processing the initial shock and anger, Harry confronted Meghan. This confrontation was reportedly emotionally charged, intense, and deeply personal, taking place in the privacy of their home rather than in any public forum. Harry approached the conversation with a mix of emotional vulnerability and resolute determination to seek clarity. The setting was intimate, reflective of the gravity of the discussion, yet charged with tension and anticipation. For Harry, this was not merely about eliciting a confession. It was about understanding the truth, reconciling it with his own feelings, and determining how to move forward in a relationship suddenly shadowed by uncertainty. During the confrontation, Harry asked pointed questions, seeking to understand the motivations, intentions, and context behind Meghan's past statements and behaviors. He questioned the timing of her ambitions, the authenticity of her feelings, and the degree to which her long-term goals had intersected with their meeting. According to reports from sources close to the couple, Meghan responded with a mixture of defensiveness, explanation, and emotional appeal. She acknowledged her aspirations, contextualized them within her broader life ambitions, and emphasized that her connection with Harry had been genuine and transformative. She insisted that her past ambitions had never undermined the love and commitment she felt toward him, highlighting that personal aspirations do not preclude authentic emotional bonds. Despite her reassurances, Harry's feelings were turbulent and multifaceted. The confrontation did not result in immediate resolution. Rather, it catalyzed a period of reflection, self-examination, and emotional processing. He wrestled with the tension between love and disappointment, loyalty and doubt, trust and suspicion. The dynamic between them during this period was reportedly characterized by intense emotional dialogue, moments of connection, and periods of introspective silence, as each attempted to navigate the complexity of their relationship in light of Engelson's revelations. The confrontation also forced Harry to consider the broader implications of Meghan's ambitions. Beyond their personal relationship, he contemplated the public perception, media scrutiny, and the potential consequences for his role within the royal family. The knowledge that his spouse may have long-term goals connected to status and visibility introduced a new dimension to his understanding of the relationship, prompting questions about authenticity, alignment of values, and the interplay between personal ambition and marital partnership. This awareness weighed heavily on him, influencing both his emotional state and his approach to public life. In the weeks following the confrontation, Harry's response evolved. Initial anger gradually gave way to introspection, as he analyzed the entirety of their relationship and considered the patterns of behavior, choices, and aspirations that Meghan had exhibited. He sought counsel from trusted confidants, including family members and close friends, weighing their perspectives against his own experiences and the new information he had received. This period of reflection was marked by an effort to reconcile emotional attachment with cognitive evaluation, balancing heart and mind in the pursuit of understanding and resolution. One critical aspect of Harry's reaction was the distinction between intent and outcome. While he grappled with feelings of betrayal, he also recognized that ambitions and aspirations are inherent human traits, not necessarily indicative of deceit or manipulation. He considered the possibility that Meghan's goals, though long-standing and strategic, were compatible with genuine affection and commitment, and that their convergence with his own life circumstances may have been fortuitous rather than purely engineered. This nuanced perspective allowed him to approach the situation with a combination of caution, empathy, and critical analysis. The confrontation also had lasting effects on the dynamics of their relationship. Harry became more attuned to potential discrepancies between public narrative and private reality, developing a heightened awareness of the interplay between personal history, ambition, and relational trust. Communication between the couple reportedly intensified, with both parties engaging in more deliberate dialogue about intentions, expectations, and shared values. This period of candid discussion served as both a test and a catalyst, challenging the resilience of their connection while also offering an opportunity for deeper understanding and alignment. Harry's emotional journey during this time was further complicated by the intrusion of external narratives. Media speculation, public discourse, and social commentary amplified the tension, creating a sense of pressure and scrutiny that extended beyond the confines of the private conversation. Engelson's revelations were widely reported, dissected, and debated, adding layers of external judgment and public expectation to an already emotionally charged situation. Harry had to navigate not only his personal reactions, but also the broader implications of how their relationship and its complexities were being interpreted by the world. Despite the intensity of the confrontation and the emotional upheaval it produced, Harry's ultimate response demonstrated a commitment to thoughtful reflection and measured action. Rather than reacting impulsively or making immediate, drastic decisions, he took time to process the information, evaluate its significance, and consider the path forward with both clarity and intentionality. This approach underscored a key aspect of his character: the ability to integrate emotional insight with practical reasoning, even under circumstances of personal and public pressure. In conclusion, Harry's reaction to Trevor Engelson's revelations about Meghan Markle was multifaceted, deeply personal, and emblematic of the complexities inherent in navigating love, trust, and ambition. His journey from shock and anger to introspection and measured confrontation highlights the emotional depth, relational awareness, and resilience that defined his response. The confrontation served not only as a critical turning point in their relationship, but also as a lens through which to examine the interplay of personal ambition, relational trust, and the challenges of maintaining authenticity in the face of unexpected revelations. By understanding Harry's perspective, viewers gain insight into the human dimensions of this high-profile relationship, the emotional stakes involved, and the enduring impact of past ambitions on present realities. The aftermath of Harry's confrontation with Meghan was far from contained within the private walls of their home. Once the emotional storm had subsided enough for the couple to regain a semblance of composure, the reality of external pressures began to assert itself with remarkable force. Harry quickly realized that what had started as a personal revelation now carried enormous implications for their public image, their roles within the royal family, and even the broader narrative that would define Meghan's place in history. The fallout was multifaceted, encompassing issues of trust, media scrutiny, public perception, and the ripple effects of personal choices played out on a global stage. In the immediate aftermath, Harry grappled with lingering doubts and the challenge of re-establishing trust. Even after the confrontation, he was acutely aware of the emotional fissures that had been exposed. Trust, once fractured by the perception that Meghan's ambitions may have predated their relationship, required careful rebuilding. Every interaction, every private conversation, carried the weight of this new reality, and Harry approached each with a heightened sense of caution. The process was painstaking. Reconciliation demanded honesty, vulnerability, and repeated demonstrations of sincerity from both sides. For Harry, the effort to navigate this rebuilding of trust was emotionally taxing, requiring him to reconcile feelings of betrayal with his ongoing commitment to the relationship he had chosen to invest in. Simultaneously, the couple faced the unrelenting gaze of the media. The British press, in particular, thrived on narratives of scandal, ambition, and perceived royal intrigue, and Engelson's revelations provided exactly the kind of explosive content that could dominate headlines. Stories emerged portraying Meghan as a calculated social climber, framing her past ambitions as evidence of strategic manipulation. Commentary ranged from cautious analysis to sensationalized accusations, each piece influencing public perception and magnifying the emotional impact of the private confrontation. The couple's communications teams were tasked with managing the narrative, issuing statements, and controlling the messaging, but the relentless cycle of reporting, speculation, and opinion made it impossible to fully insulate themselves from scrutiny. Public perception became a critical dimension of the fallout. Fans, critics, and casual observers alike debated the implications of Engelson's account. Some were quick to condemn Meghan, portraying her as opportunistic and self-serving, while others defended her, arguing that ambition and foresight are not incompatible with genuine love or commitment. Harry, acutely aware of the power of public sentiment, recognized that these external judgments could not be ignored. The stakes were not merely reputational. The narratives being constructed had real consequences for their ability to operate as a couple within the royal framework and for Meghan's broader public endeavors. Harry also confronted the challenge of separating fact from interpretation. While Engelson's account suggested long-term ambitions, Harry had to consider context, perspective, and nuance. Human ambition is rarely linear, and conversations about personal goals do not necessarily reflect a calculated plan to exploit another person. He reflected on the complexity of relationships, the interplay of individual aspirations, and the ways in